Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diamonds and Washi. My name is Katie, and if you are new here, hello, welcome. I hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you are back, as always, welcome back. Today, I am here with an update on my cross-stitch conversion project. In this video, I'm finally going to be sharing an update with you guys on this rather epic level project that I do have a playlist dedicated on my channel here to it that I will be sure to have linked in the description box. But you guys, I unboxed this project for you. I think it's been over 6 months ago at this point. There's a video for that. There's also a video of me kitting up this project in all of its glory. But unfortunately, I then did neglect this project a bit during the end of 2022 with a last hurrah there in the last week or two. We're actually finished a bit more than I expected. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but I do apologize because I actually had every intention of regularly sharing updates on this project with you. I know several of you have checked in, and I really appreciate your patience and apologize that both I didn't spend as much time on this project as I thought that I would starting out. The end of 2022 was just very busy. I was hosting drills and chills. Before that, I hosted Summer with the Masters, and I just had a hard time reaching for this one because it takes a little bit more brain power. But I am here today. I have an update for you, and I want to share where I'm at with this project, some of the things that I have learned, and just generally all around give you an update because, like I said, it has been a while. First, let me just give you a really quick recap in case you don't necessarily want to go back and rewatch the unboxing and whatnot of this kit. I totally understand. But just to give you a really quick recap, what I have done is I have actually gotten the chart for this artwork, which the artwork name is Once Upon a Fairy Tale. The artist is Amy Stewart, and this artwork was actually licensed by Heaven and Earth Designs to turn into a cross-stitch chart. So if you didn't know, yes, you can take cross-stitch charts and convert them to diamond paintings on a blank canvas. It just involves using an app like Pattern Keeper or doing it on paper. It can't be like a cross-stitch chart that has like back stitching and stuff like that. Let me pull up the image for you. I'm doing this the wrong way. So here is that beautiful original artwork. This is actually within Pattern Keeper. You could say the name of it here. It's from Heaven and Earth Designs, Once Upon a Fairy Tale. There's the chart number. Chart designed by Michelle Sayada, who I believe is the owner of Heaven and Earth Designs. Artwork by Amy Stewart. And then there's this absolutely stunning, beautiful original artwork. The finished design size is 750 by 536 stitches. Now, how you convert that to centimeters is you take these two numbers and you divide them by 4 or multiply them times 0.25. There was some confusion. I had to explain to someone that that's the same thing in a past video, however you want to do it. But what that shakes out to is 187.5 centimeters by 134 centimeters. Quite large. I decided to break this giant project into 8 panels to make it easier to work on, to be able to get the satisfaction of finish a little bit more quickly. And so each of the 8 panels is 33.5 by 93.75 centimeters. So still pretty big, kind of like panel style like you see like the Manny Manzano stained glass panels and stuff like that. But this made sense to me because I thought, I'm looking at this has 4 shelves on it. So it's divided here. We are going to have 4 rows top to bottom, and then I cut it in half. So like this here is one section, and this here is a panel, and so on and so forth. And so far that's been working for me, honestly. This has a total of 91 colors, at least that's what it is in DMC Floss. However, there were a couple that ended up being combined because they weren't offered. Like there's some colors that are offered in floss, like for cross stitch, that are not offered as diamonds to work with. So there's a whole conversion like chart for those particular colors that can be found like in the Heaven and Earth Designs Diamond Painting Facebook groups, which I will also link to below in the description box. But I just use those to get the colors. So here's one example. This was like, okay, the color 32 doesn't exist in diamonds. So the closest match was actually a color that was already charted, which was 333. So those are the 2 possible symbols that get that particular color purple. There were a couple more. I'm not seeing them in here. There must be, yeah, 1 or 2 in here, I believe. So yeah, these are all the drills, by the way, in case you were curious. This is how I kitted up. I kitted up into these 2 sets of Elizabeth Ward storage containers. Here's another example, by the way. 907 and then 16 in DMC doesn't exist as a diamond color. So technically this is just 89 colors of drills, I believe, if I have that right. But I still, just for sake of ease, since the chart says 91 colors, that's how I refer to it. So this is not all the diamonds that go in the kit. I have overflow. So they came in these heat sealed baggies, and I just filled these up with about as much as they would fill. It was a whole process. If you'd like to hear more about my in-depth thoughts, it's really complicated, honestly. It doesn't have to be, but I made it really complicated. Go watch the kitting up video. I explained the whole thing. But I do refill these as they start to run low. I refill them from the heat sealed baggies. Now, the diamonds and the canvases I actually got from Evermoment, which is, you can see the purple tube here. Evermoment now offers poured glue canvases. They do have resin square drills. I had a really difficult experience with actually my very first go around at doing a cross stitch conversion project, which again, I have a whole video explaining why I ended up putting an indefinite hold on my very first project. It had to do with the materials that I was working with. And so that really informed the changes that I wanted to make when working on this new project instead. So that's just sort of the recap of what we're working with. Let me shift these out of the way because, you guys, this is actually not the only bit that I've gotten done, but I also have completed the very first panel, which, let me see if I can get this out without totally destroying my nails. Yeah, there we go. But I actually, at the tail end of 2020, I completed the first panel, and I was just storing it in the tube that it came in. So let me show you that. I have posted the reveal picture on Instagram, so you may have already seen it, but I had to, of course, pull it out for you guys here. This is the top left panel of the on the canvas. So it's the top left shelf. It's the left half of the top shelf. So this in all was 12.5. Yes, because 100 divided by 8 panels is 12.5. 12.5% completion of the entire chart. So confetti heavy, and we are up close. I do not consider this true viewing distance because viewing distance is going to be however far back you have to stand to be able to see all 8 panels together. So keep that in mind. You're just maybe 3 feet from the canvas right now. So you are seeing more pixelation than I really feel like you're going to see once you're looking at the whole thing. This is going to be massive. Obviously, it's going to be massive. This size, like this number of drills and everything, times 8. This was 40-something thousand drills because there's over 400,000 drills in this entire chart. It's huge, you guys. So I started over here on this side. Sorry, kitten antics in the background. And worked my way over. I had gotten, I think, around to here or to maybe to here, and then didn't work on it for several months. And then I picked back up. I had just finished, I had just hit about half completion on this particular panel, and it was the last week of 2022, and I was like, I'm going to work on my cross-stitch conversion. I don't want to kit up something new. I'm going to see how far I can get. You guys, on New Year's Eve, right around midnight, I completed this canvas, and after polling you guys for your opinions and stuff like that, decided that this canvas, I'm counting this as a finish. Like, I have a logbook where I track my finished diamond paintings and make notes about the things that I liked and challenges and stuff like that. And I decided with a project like this that is likely probably going to take me at least another year to complete, that counting it as finishes when I complete a panel is rewarding, and that I think I'm allowed to do that. But again, the panel size, each panel size is 33.5 by 93.75 centimeters. Now, I did leave a little bit of an extra centimeter, or did I round up? I'm trying to remember exactly what I did. But I did ask Evermoment to leave a little bit of extra space on each panel. So we had 5 squares here and 6 squares at the bottom. I have gotten this question a lot, and I don't know the answer yet. I've had the question asked often, how am I planning to attach these together, and how am I planning to hang these? The first one is easier for me to answer than the second. I I am planning to find a way to attach them because I want to be able to demo that for you guys, for if you are splitting canvases into panels to work on to make them more manageable. And I have some ideas. I've talked with some friends. I've thought about doing something as simple as, well, let me not get ahead of myself. Let me show you. This second canvas that I started, I'm going to come back to that. I promise I'm going to come back to that. So please bear with me here. This second panel that I started, I decided to continue directly on the top shelf. So this is my first time seeing this right next to each other. This is going to be kind of fun. Here, let me shift this. And yes, I decided to do an update, and I'm not even finished with the current column that I'm on. It's, it is what it is. It's the timing for when I could film. So this is the end of the first panel. And then I picked right back up where I left off, right there. That's fun. So I have a couple of different ideas for how I could potentially attach it. I've thought even so much as like I could just cut along both sides and just have it be raw drills right up to the edge and then do some kind of adhesive on the back. I've thought of, cutting one like this right here and then laying this on top of this part right here. I've thought of trying to do something with like stitching it. I have lots of ideas. I've even talked to one of my seamstress friends, Jade, who, yes, she owns her own diamond painting shop and offers materials for cross-stitch conversions and stuff like that. But she has a large background in seamstress work. So I even was kind of running some ideas past her. And we'll see. I haven't tried anything yet, but it's very much on my mind. Now, as far as the question of how am I planning to hang and display this? The short answer is that I'm not. Honestly, I am working on this because it's a fun challenge. It's rewarding for me. And it's fun for me to get to share the process with you guys, to be like, okay, these are some of my learnings. Here's some things I can share with you to be helpful. But I know some of you guys might display something this large, but I live in a very small space. I literally don't have a wall big enough that I could display this entire thing. It's going to be huge. I don't know if I can communicate the scope of this actual size of this thing. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. It's just going to be so big. I don't know how I would frame and or display this, but it's one of those things I do want to kind of try to look into for your sake, because like I said, I know some of you might. And so I'd like to be able to provide that info if I can. But yeah, so anyway, I did have some questions when I posted a progress picture, and also I worked on this in a whip and chat. I actually pulled out this canvas and started it fresh with you guys in a whip and chat, which I'll go ahead and add that link to the description box as well. But I actually think that might be helpful if you want to see some of my process of just sort of prepping the canvas as is. Like I did the washi on the border, and then I had a learning as I was going where I was like, oh shoot, the last canvas up there, I stopped at exactly the halfway mark, left to right. And that happened to be in the middle of a 10 by 10 grid. And let me explain. If we take a look at the chart, you can see that it's broken down. It's got these dark lines that breaks it down into 10 by 10 grids. It's actually really helpful for counting the symbols, counting the stitches, and placing accurately and stuff like that. And if you look at the canvas, you can see that there are also dark lines that kind of mark off 10 by 10 sections. They're not super dark, but they are there. And so it starts over at this edge, those 10 by 10 grids do. And I was like, if I start this right at the edge, I'm forever going to have the grid lines on the canvas not lining up with the grid lines on my tablet. Like it won't line up. What am I going to do? That's going to drive my brain crazy because I rely on that for reference a lot. And then I did some counting and realized that yes, I did in fact leave enough extra on the sides that I could start this one 5 squares over and then start with, so that I was lined up in the same spot in the grid. I hope that that makes sense. It's a little weird to try to explain, but I hope that that makes sense. So that's why I did that way. I haven't yet figured out, because I haven't done the second row yet, like a canvas below this row yet. I haven't figured out yet how that's going to look, as far as, because there's 6 empty squares here, am I going to need to skip 4 top to bottom on the next one and then start so that I'm again lining up with the grid lines? We'll see. This is just how my brain works, and it's very much a learning experience, and I'm leaving it all in. I'm trying to leave it not super edited so that you guys can truly see, like, okay, this is what we're learning. This is what we're learning. As I'm working on it, this is what I find is working really well for me, is that I am working in columns. Columns that are 10 squares wide and about, a 10 by 10 grid, though I'll sometimes work on multiple squares top to bottom at once, just depending on the colors. Like if this particular color has like 1 drill in the next square down, I'll go ahead and uncover it and start working on that square and including it. I did try a little bit adding in additional squares left to right, and I found that to be confusing, to work on more than 1 square left to right at a time. Like if I were working on these 2 at the same time, it just was a little much for my brain. So you find what works for you. I recommend that you try it. I feel like you kind of just have to get your hands dirty, start working on it, and you'll find a rhythm and a pattern that works for your brain. I do think that the Pattern Keeper app is completely invaluable. I've really, really incredibly appreciated the suggestions and tips and tricks that you guys have shared with me. Please know that I'm never going to be like annoyed if you're like, hey, there's this easier way that you could be using this app or something like that. I'm never going to be upset. I'm always going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing a tip. Like I've had several suggestions shared. Like there was a gal that had shared the suggestion that she's like, you don't have to go over to the search symbol like at all. You can just be in like the moving symbol and you just double tap on a symbol and it selects it for you instead of having to like pick this and then tap and then pick this to fill in. So that was a really helpful tip. I've had some other suggestions like go play with this in settings. Someone told me I could turn off page breaks. I still need to go in and do that. So that has been a really helpful learning. And like I said, I found the Pattern Keeper app to be so invaluable. You can also go in. You can edit the DMC numbers, which again was a suggestion I was giving that I'm just mentioning here. So like what was one of these? Originally, that symbol here, the darker one, had said 32 in here, and I was actually able to go in and edit it to say 333. I think there's another further edit you can do as well so that the symbols all display as the same, but I've left it this way just because I like it that way. But yeah, so, and also I really like in Pattern Keeper that it has markers for like how many you've stitched today or how many drills you placed today. And then my total, like I've placed 60,750 drills of 402,000. So I'm at 15.11%. And a project at this scope, I cheer for every like 0.1% that I complete. When I was working on it and going really hard on it leading up to the new year, I was stoked if I was completing 0.5% a day, and I was spending hours on it a day to be able to complete that much. This size and scope of project is a very long-term project. I will continue to suggest that if you're trying one of these for the first time, maybe do as I say, don't not as I do. Maybe don't necessarily start with something quite this large. There are a lot of smaller charts available out there. And that might be a better way to go to get a sense for, is this whole concept for me? And it might be less confetti heavy as well, but this is very, very confetti heavy. Overall though, you guys, I feel like I really found my groove with this. I'm really glad that I picked it back up at the end of the year, and I honestly didn't want to put it back down. That's why I dove into this second panel and these florals. Oh my gosh, as soon as I saw we had florals, I was like, that is going to be confetti crazy. So this has taken some time, but there's been like a little bit of color blocking with these different shades of blue in here. By the way, we have like a princess or something who's knighting a knight here, which is fun. All the fantasy elements I'm adoring, and I just am adoring the whole process of working on a cross stitch conversion. It works for my brain. It's a different kind of challenge than diamond painting, but it's also a different kind of soothing than your standard diamond painting as well. And so if you haven't tried it before, I do recommend trying it. I have seen several of my fellow creator friends out there have been doing cross-stitch conversion projects. I'm not going to try to name specific names because I don't want to leave anyone out, but if you do some searches for like cross-stitch conversion to a diamond painting or something like that on YouTube, you should come up with a variety of other projects that other diamond painters have worked on, and I'm sure that they're sharing some tips that I haven't even thought of or discovered yet. So I highly recommend, taking a look at what other creators are doing as well. But yeah, you guys, this is my update on my cross-stitch conversion project. Like I said, long overdue, but I still wanted to get this put together for you, share with you where I'm at on this project and my thoughts so far. I am not sure what sort of my pace of working on this project is going to be. I'm just sort of following my nose. When I am feeling the urge to work on it, I'm working on it, and I'm still feeling that. So I do have other projects going at the same time because I don't want this to be literally the only thing that I'm working on. But I want to kind of have this going steady in the background and sort of figure out a rhythm for how I can work on it more consistently throughout this year than I did last year, because I kind of just got in a rut and just wasn't really coming back to it. So anyway, I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like I said, if you have suggestions, I feel like particularly seasoned cross stitchers will have lots of suggestions and ideas for Pattern Keeper. Please, please, please feel free to share them in the comment section or shoot me an email or Instagram message. I will always be very open and grateful for those kinds of things. But let me know as well in the comments. Is this the kind of project that you would be interested in taking on yourself? Are you like, oh, I'm going to go dig and see if there are cross-stitch charts that maybe are calling my name? And please stay tuned because I do want to put together a couple of basic how-to videos, like how to order a cross-stitch chart, how to order your materials, like stuff like that. I feel like I've also had that highly requested as well. So stay tuned. I'll be working on those as well. But in the meantime, let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I'll do my very best to help. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the cross-stitch conversion playlist I have linked below so you can see the other videos in this series that'll kind of get you up to speed on this whole project and what I've been working on and whatnot. And if you want to keep following along with both this journey and all of my other diamond painting content, which there's a lot of and a big variety of, feel free to hit the subscribe button down here and the bell to be notified when I share new videos. I would absolutely love to have you. All right, my friends, have an amazing rest of your day, and I will chat with you in the next one. Bye.